This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall. CJAD 800.
Time for the Friday edition of James MENNIE of the Montreal Gazette. Hi, James.
Hi, I didn't know there was a Friday edition.
There's the Friday edition. Today we're in Friday edition mode.
Okay, yeah, all right. I hear you. I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think the listeners got to figure it out, too.
Yeah. No, we're having a little fun, but also we're talking about serious stuff as well. So I didn't hear about this. A snap election this fall?
Oh, my goodness. Our good friend John Reynolds, who was the co-chair of Patrick Brown's campaign to be leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, sort of bruited this about 24 hours ago. Now, to my first impression is that this was basically to scare Brown's orphaned supporters into voting for Jean Charest because there's a lot of Pierre Poilievre's opponents are trying to construct a narrative that says if Poilievre gets in, if he wins the leadership, this would be the time for Trudeau to call an early election, because why do you want to give Pierre Poilievre 2 years to either learn how to be perhaps a less rambunctious leader of the opposition and perhaps a prime minister in waiting, rather than just hit him while he's still trying to stitch together the party, because the party will be divided. Maybe, I'm saying that you're going to see a schism there, but the party will be divided if he wins. And listen, it would be an opportune time. It would be, first of all, Trudeau would be able to win 4 terms, which I don't think anyone's done. No, since Mackenzie King or whatever, but certainly his dad didn't do it, and I think that's perhaps a navigational aid for his career path. But the other thing I find intriguing in all of this is that it would allow Trudeau to either make or break the Liberal Party, his Liberal Party, on a national scale. Recent polls, albeit with relatively small samplings, have suggested he's becoming increasingly unpopular. And a lot of that unpopularity is found in Quebec and out west. If he keeps Ontario, however, and listen, if there's one thing Trudeau has shown, is that he will throw anybody under a bus if he can win votes in Quebec. So, you know what? It's not impossible.
But he's slipping in BC too. Sorry, but he's slipping in BC, and that's troubling as well.
All the more, if the fuse is sizzling there, David, all the more reason to pull the trigger on election rather than let each province explode on its own. And don't get me wrong. As far as I'm concerned, Justin Trudeau deserves whatever is happening to him. He is the author of his own misfortune, and he clearly needs, as I said this week, he needs someone whispering in his ear, telling him what planet he's on. But all that said, the Tories have been having a field day with this idea, trolling him with it, and among other things. And quite frankly, I think if Trudeau keeps standing still this way, if he keeps sort of pretending that nothing is going on, he will basically, be his own worst enemy. I mean, if there's one thing the other thing that argues in favor of this as well is that the Conservative Party of Canada has made it clear that, if the leader loses an election, metaphorically speaking, he's handed a blindfold cigarette and told to stand in front of the wall. So what more effective way to deal with any threat posed by Pierre Poilievre than to take him right to the hustings right away, take him into debates where, like it or not, Trudeau is pretty good. So, it's on the one hand, this may be nothing more than a puff of Tory smoke. But on the other, as the old saying, it's just crazy enough that it might work.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if Canadians would forgive Justin Trudeau a third election in 3 years. Well, but at the same time,
imagine Quebecers. Imagine Quebecers going to the polls in October this year and perhaps having to go again in November in a federal election.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
We'll have fun.
Well, listen, it's stranger things have happened.
I know. No. Speaking of stranger things, I mean, now Tories are going after Chrystia Freeland on Ukraine.
It's great. There's, this whole thing, these turbines that the Trudeau government said, you know what, we won't just ship the one that's under repair in Canada back to Russia, but we will maintain those turbines, those Russian turbines, for the next 2 years. Clearly, Ukrainian President Zelensky's head exploded. However, at the Standing Committee on Foreign Relations today, the Tories were having a great amount of fun, tag-teaming each other, basically asking, well, maybe, Chrystia Freeland should come here and talk to us about this, because it's been radio silence since this announcement was made. And for those of our listeners who are wondering why Ms. Freeland figures so largely in the story, her mom, I believe, co-authored the Constitution of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So you know what? She is virulent. She is banned from Russia. She is super anti-Putin. She is pro-Ukraine. And quite frankly, I think she'd have some explaining to do if anyone could find her. Her office says apparently she's gone to Java for the G20. She's preparing for the G20. I'm not a geographer, David, but I think Java is about as far away as you can get from the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs. But, that's just me. But, yeah, I mean, once again, though, we're kind of giggling over this, but this is a government which, quite frankly, seems more rudderless than usual. And I think, if nothing else, that the Tories may be divided and the NDP is sort of hiding under its desk for the moment. They are letting themselves open to criticisms, which they should probably be deflecting sooner rather than later, and to the general impression, for those of us who are paying attention, the general impression that nobody is in charge. Nobody's hand is on the tiller. And the criticism of Trudeau, he's just in it for the photo ops and travel. Well, you know what? It's kind of hard to argue with that, let's say, over the past week.
I only have a couple of minutes, but I feel this is a really important story, James. And when I read this morning, I said, hey, it's really beginning. So Quebec companies, not having enough workers. We know about the labor shortage. They're deciding to look at Mexico to develop instead of Quebec.
Yep, the old maquiladoras, the some would say sweatshops, but call it what you will. This is the reality. These are Quebec companies right now, and I was gobsmacked. And I'll give La Presse credit for breaking the story. But Quebec furniture manufacturers are seeing, they have empty shops. So we're going to send our work down south. No, even further down south. We're going to send it down to perhaps Ciudad Juarez, which is known. It's internationally renowned for that kind of work. But the message is that Quebec companies don't have the time, as far as I'm concerned, the message is they don't have the time to wait around for Francois Legault to figure out what to do, wait around for Francois Legault to change the cassette over, we can't take more immigrants, even though the business community is screaming for that. Right now, it's furniture manufacturers. But Quebec's manufacturing sector, believe me, they're looking at, we're all looking at a potentially very tough economic time ahead. Mm-hmm. And now is the time. If you're going to weather the storm, you're going to have to take measures. The status quo is not enough. I know the CAC has been crowing that they got a AAA credit rating. That's marvelous. But things can change on a dime. And ask any mortgage holder this week, how things can change very rapidly. But yeah, it is kind of scary. And the factory owners that they're interviewing in this La Presse story basically say, listen, we'd rather not do it, but we have no choice. So that is a reality. It's not an abstract. It's not a matter of did people get this served or whatever. For whatever reason, they are not there. They are not coming back. And Quebec business owners have to have an alternative.
We'll continue this conversation on Monday. Thank you so much, James. Have a great weekend.
You too, buddy.